maskaxdii dunidu malaasan mawjadaheeda kala miirtay ee macnaysay maarkii qarsoona
Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Sallallahu ala Sayyidina Muhammad. We are going to start with grade 11, a topic on grade 11, unit 6, unit 6, a topic on grade 11. Unit 6, and as we have always talked about, as we have always said, every lesson or every unit in our English language secondary syllabus begins with a listening and speaking segment, which is A, listening and speaking. So, in our listening and speaking segment, as we have always seen, we have got methodologies. We have got methodologies which we use to achieve the objective of that particular lesson. How are we going to make sure that students have learned what we want them to gain from that particular lesson? So here, in this lesson, it has the title, The Marriage That Brought Peace. The Marriage That Brought Peace. A very interesting topic. A very interesting topic. Very interesting. A marriage that brought peace. Now, the listening and speaking segment objective is practice a dialogue. So there is before the reading session, there is a dialogue which students are going to practice. How do we do it? Simple. You as a teacher organize the classroom and then ask students, tell them to let learners practice the dialogue in pairs. Because we know obviously dialogue should be practiced. It should be a conversation between two people. Then how do you assess? How do you assess whether you have reached these objectives? Observation. Observe how learners cooperate and utilize speaking. Observe how do they cooperate between them. How do they cooperate? How do they utilize speaking? Are they audible? Does the student pronounce words correctly? Does he use his or her turn-taking ability effectively as required? Turn-taking ability, skills such as, this is what you're observing, audibility skills. Is the student audible? If the student is talking and is not audible, the conversation will not be successful. So make sure student has confidence in speaking loudly. Not very loud, such that it hinders communication, and not very low. At least should speak clearly and loudly, such that he or she can be heard. Audibility. That's what we are calling audibility, being audible. Correct pronunciation. The students should check, observe whether they are pronouncing those words correctly and help where necessary to make sure that the correct pronunciation of the word. Sometimes, as a good teacher, do not interrupt. Even if you find a student is mispronouncing a word, and the students are listening very attentively, and two students have taken roles and are now practicing the dialogue, do not interrupt. Just try to write down those words which they mispronounce. All the words they mispronounce, jot them down. Then later, after the pair have finished their dialogue, you can list the words on the whiteboard and ask students, individual other students, to read these words. Read for me these words. Then you will find some of them may pronounce it correctly, others may not. In the end, help them how to pronounce properly. Tell them to check their dictionary to make sure that they know the correct pronunciation of these words. Correct pronunciation. Non-verbal cues. These are other skills that you need to observe. Non-verbal cues. Like, for example, gestures, eye contact, private space, personal space, non-verbal cues. So the next, now we are going to again look at this unit has again reading comprehension segment. The reading comprehension section, which is about the title which we have already seen, and this is the objective. Read for gist and overall meaning. For gist and overall meaning. What does it talk about? What is the overall meaning of this passage? The student is reading to comprehend that. Then answer comprehension questions. Another objective, should be able to answer comprehension questions. Oral or written questions. These are how you are going to give your assessment. How do you assess them? Ask them orally after reading the comprehension. Using the methodologies which we have always already talked about it before, like silent reading individually or loud reading. First session, one person reads aloud, other student listen carefully, putting down, taking notes, short notes. Yeah. Then again, another student reading, or you as a teacher could read first, then another student, then another student, then finally every student reads the passage individually. After that has been done, now you can ask, there is a comprehension question you will find in the textbook. After every reading a comprehension segment, you will find that there are comprehension questions. Now these comprehension questions you can choose to ask students the first 3 or 2 questions, as I have said earlier, orally. Ask them orally. These oral questions will help the student to gain confidence. When you ask a student question orally and he or she gets it right and you applaud, and then that student feels at least, yes, I'm proud to be here, I'm doing something, I'm learning something. Other students will also emulate that student. The bright student will inspire those ones. That's why the teaching learning activity, the teaching and learning activity should be student-centered, to make the student take the responsibility to teach and learn, to learn and teach themselves. Then we have this segment, which is the vocabulary segment, and the objective is use vocabulary appropriately. Use vocabulary appropriately. Now here are keywords. Appropriately. Use vocabulary appropriately. These are the methodologies which we are going to use. Class activity. Let the learners individually complete the sentences with appropriate vocabulary from the box. Yeah, as I have umpteen times said, after the reading comprehension we have vocabulary section, and in the vocabulary section we have a box. a vocabulary box which contains some words selected from the reading comprehension, and then questions are framed and the student use those words in the box to fill these sentences, but appropriately. Sometimes words may change form, so put the right word in the right dash or blank space. The students should be able to do that. And this is how we are going to assess. Give them a written exercise. Just tell them, do activity 1, activity 2, or that box. There is an instruction in the textbook. You can come up with your own other added supplementary activity which you can tell students, use these words, using this word fill the blank spaces, or use these words to form or construct a grammatically correct sentence, to make sure how far they have understood these particular words. Now, I just want to show you what I was saying about using words sentence appropriately. You will see in the textbook, you might find a box like this after every vocabulary. C vocabulary. You will find a box like this. Then it will contain some words. It will contain certain words. For example, let's say this word. Appreciate, 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 appreciate. Recommend, recommend. Just example sentences. It's example words to illustrate, to demonstrate how you can improve the vocabulary of your student using the layout and the way these books are organized. Just a simple example. Recommend, appreciate, recommend. Rap, rap. Now look at this. Use, the question could be like this. Activity 1. This could be activity 1. Using the words in the box above, fill in the blank, fill in the blank spaces, fill in the blank spaces in the following, sentences. In the following sentences. In the following sentences. And this could be one of the sentences Now look. The bank worked. This could be a sentence. Worked for Muhammad and he dash it. The bank worked for Muhammad and he dash it. And he dash it. Just to illustrate what I was talking about how words appropriate, use appropriate word, use appropriate vocabulary, use vocabulary appropriately. Now, if the students was choosing between these three words, if you have given him or her this sentence, and you want the student to choose one word from the box here to complete this sentence, okay? Using the words in the box, fill in the blank spaces. That means you will be giving this student so many sentences. Although now, just to illustrate for you as teachers, I have given one. That's why I have said words. That's why I have said words. Okay? So, then the student writes for you. Which one is he going to choose? The bank worked for Muhammad. Bank. We know where we put money. We save our money in the bank. They work for us. We dash. Recommend. I think no. Rap. How will you? No, this definitely this will not miss. So the student will pick. Let's say appreciate. Then the student feels the word appreciate. Sorry for the wrong spelling. Appreciate. 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 Now, is it correct? The bank worked for Muhammad and he appreciate it. Because there will be a problem. This is incorrect. Why? The bank worked. The subject. The subject. Here. Here we have the subject. The subject here, the subject bank. And then worked. Worked for the bank worked for Muhammad. The bank, which is the subject, and worked, which is the verb, active verb here, for Muhammad, which is the object, Muhammad, which is the object, and he. Now, a conjunction, coordinating conjunction, this conjunction, appreciate, he appreciate, worked, appreciate. This disagreement of the tense. See here it is worked, here should be he appreciate, and he appreciate it, appreciate it, appreciated. So you see the correct form should be, and he appreciated it. The correct form of the verb. Appreciated appropriately. Yeah. So that's what we mean by appropriate use of vocabulary. Written, you give student written exercise, let them use the vocabulary box and make sure they fill in correctly. This could sometimes you are not only looking at you're looking at how the words he or she has used. You are looking at how appropriate. How appropriate here means a lot. in terms of tense, the way I have demonstrated right now, the word worked, appreciated. Now even rap, if it becomes a capital, if we want to use this word, recommend, if we want to use this word, recommend, past tense, it will add ed, recommended. What about rap? What's going to happen? Definitely plus ed. But before adding ed, we should have a double consonant. Wrapped. So double, that's doubled. So if a student gives you, she wrapped, wrongly spelled, wrong spelling. So teachers, as you have seen already, when we are teaching this syllabus, it's very easy because it's student-centered. The activities, the way they are well organized, all you want to do is make sure you practice, you prepare your lesson very well and engage the students, engage them. Let them be the ones doing the work. Let them be the ones learning. Yeah? From the listening, speaking, participation, practice of the dialogue, speaking dialogue, the listening, turn taking, all the skills, yeah, of reading, to writing, practicing how to write, to vocabulary and all that. With that is the end of this unit, and I'm going to stop here. Thank you very much for listening, for being with me all this time. I appreciate your time. Thank you very much, teachers. Until we meet again, I will stop there. Thank you.
kala miirtay ee macnaysay